What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live. We have people coming in, so if you're watching this afterwards and you're not live, I'm just talking a little bit to myself until some people join. What's up, Sam? Show me the money. I'm going to do my best, my friend. This video is kind of akin to the one we just did, which was tips to make money flipping sports cards in 2024. These are mistakes to avoid. Some of them are similar, some of them are a little bit different. But I think if we focus on this, myself included, we will do well flipping cards this next upcoming year. That's the goal. Hey, what's up, Carter? How you doing? Aggressive Sport. How are you doing? Before I really get into it, I'll wait a second for some people to join. We got 10 people in the chat. But if you guys don't know who I am, I'm Carey. American Arbitrage Cards and American Arbitrage on my main channel. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Poshmark, just random places. Wherever there's content, I'm probably making it. Thank you, man. I appreciate that, Jackson. So my first tip, guys, and this one is huge. I'm going to do this right at the start. We're going to start with something that I find really important in reselling in general, especially sports cards, and something a lot of people have trouble with. It's the idea of sunk cost. I don't know if you guys have heard of a sunk cost before, but all the time, especially in the market the way it's been the last, couple years, there's ups and downs, peaks and valleys, and it's kind of been going down like that for a while. So a sunk cost is basically getting your money out of a card when you've lost money. There are so many people at card shows, so many people at card shops, or even on eBay that are putting their cards at a price that is not where the market price is anymore, right? They spent $200 on a Zion Prism rookie 2 years ago, and they're not budging off that. Here's the scenario for that person who doesn't budge. In most cases, there could be a comeback, but in a lot of cases, it's not likely. Is they're going to make no money. They're just going to have the card sitting there forever and ever, collecting dust, and nothing's going to happen. So I think to have like a healthy business, and a mistake I would encourage everybody to avoid is to get rid of your bad buys. I've gotten rid of bad buys the day I bought it because I realized I screwed up and I sold it at a loss that day because I wanted to get rid of it. I sucked it up. I did a bad job. So if you bought something for $200 and the market value is 80 now, I would suggest trying to sell it for 80, but there might be a few here and there that you really believe in. If you believe in a couple people, do your thing. But in most cases, I think $80 back to you into your pocket with a little more knowledge, you might be able to take that 80 and flip it into $200, $300 worth of cards, especially if you're buying low end like myself. So think of it that way. Sometimes that money sitting there, not doing you any good, could be used with your new increased knowledge that you've gained over the last couple months, and you can go buy more cards and do better, if that makes sense. So be okay with sunk costs. It's part of business, and we're in a business. Hey, what's up, everybody? Losing money on a card is the name of my game. I mean, yes. I'm not telling you to lose money on all your cards. You're not going to stay in business if you do that. But there's so many people out there that are just holding on to cards that it is not likely they're ever going to make money on. Sure, it can come back, and that has happened and will happen again. Just realize, and sometimes you're going to sell when it's down and it goes back up. That's going to happen. Just do your own research, figure out what you think is the most likely, because nobody knows the future. I'll say that 1,000 times over, and get rid of stuff that just needs to be gotten rid of. You know what I mean? You can tell me if one of my cards are good. I could try, Carter. Sure. Mistakes are part of the game. I look back at the mistakes I made 2 years ago and have learned so much. I wonder how we put comments on the front here. I forgot how to do it. I know how to pin it at the top. If anybody knows how to do that, let me know. I should know that. Appreciate you guys all being here. We got 30 people in here. That's awesome. I had a card go from like $50 to almost $450, and then went back down to $20 fast. Yeah. And here's the thing. Nobody knows when that climb is going to end. So if you paid 50 and you realized it was at 450, of course, there's the temptation to hope it goes up to 600, 700. But if you're okay, you never lose money when you make a profit, right? You've now lost money if you sell it. And you probably, I don't want to give any hardcore advice on like when you should buy and sell and who you should buy and sell. I'm just going to give you some general reselling advice that I try to apply. And just like everybody else, I oftentimes fail with this application. It's just normal. Hey, what's up, Andrew? How you doing? Love these live chats. Yeah, people seem to react to the last live chat. And I gave a little bit more time in advance saying I was going to do it this time. And I want to try to do these once a week. Only problem is I'm out of town for like 2 weeks starting next Thursday. So I might do one next week and then take a week off because I'll be gone. I don't think my buddies are going to want to be in a sports card live because a lot of them don't do sports cards. I'm glad I sold my Wembanyama sweater card before everyone saw it was mass produced and the price dropped like a rock. Yeah, I mean, I would have guessed that that's the type of card. Hoops is a great example. Wembanyama Hoops. The sweater card was ridiculous for a while there. I could not have I don't think it was priced so high because people thought it was rare. It was just something interesting that came out. And I mean, when I saw that, I was like, get rid of that card as fast as humanly possible, because more than likely it's going to go down. It might not. It might have been actually rare. That can happen as well. But a lot of this Hoops and Donruss stuff, when you get a Wembanyama, just move it in general, unless you think something crazy is going to happen, and then you just do your own research. And that's another thing I want to talk about, a mistake that people use or commit doing reselling, is listening to too much influencers and what they have to say about the market. We're just like you guys. I mean, to whatever degree I am an influencer or whatever, we just are like you. We have the same tools available to us as you do. What I would say is I listen to a lot of people. Take what you like, ignore what you don't. And even with that, you're going to be wrong sometimes and right sometimes, just like us. So don't take what any reseller says. If they have data, if they have apps, whatever behind them, even them, don't take everything they say as gospel, because you can go back to any reseller, more than likely, including myself, and see where we've gotten things wrong in the past. So don't like it's gospel. Just learn from it. Maybe, a lot of times when I'm watching people, nugget there, they go, oh man, that's an interesting way to look at something, or I'm going to attempt to try that or whatnot, and then go from there. So don't take everything we say like it's gospel, because we are just doing this to the best of our ability, like ourselves, like yourselves rather. Your content is great. Keep the videos coming. Kyle, they are. This holiday season, I haven't been to too many card shops, and they haven't weirdly had too much new stuff coming in. I know that 702 said they were going to have some stuff coming in. I might go there next week. There's a card show this weekend in Vegas, finally. So I'm hoping to get at least 2 like full-length videos out of that. So those will be coming up in the next week or two. And then Burbank's coming up. And I need to get outside of, I do really well at 702 and really well at Legacy, but I need to diversify a little bit, maybe try some more lives like this, do a little bit of other content so that people can talk cards with me, because I have a lot to say for sure. Okay, my card is a star rookie Michael Jordan White Sox center field. That's probably about a $3 or $4 card. If it's like an upper deck one, 94, I think, or 95 is the year. They're not worth a ton, but people like them. They are popular. There's lads. Good day. There's lads from Australia. Awesome. Welcome. When I ever buy something, I have a massive spreadsheet on everything I buy, sell for 2 reasons. One is tax purposes. The other is learning and seeing what I did well and what I did poorly. That's awesome, man. Keep track of your stuff. Exactly. Spreadsheets, I'm not super hardcore on that. I do the money in, money out method. You don't really have to do spread. There's 2 ways to do the accounting. I do the money in, money out, but that's probably the smartest way to do it, is that way. Keep track of everything and study it. And also, I love watching people's videos and learning from them. And then sometimes you get kind of tipped off on something that's hot at the moment. Maybe you can cash in if you're lucky. But a lot of times, I'll watch these card show videos, and they're flipping these slabs. And oftentimes, and I could be wrong, let me preface that, but a lot of times I'm thinking, look, they're showing this buy, but they're not showing, a lot of time they're showing what they pay. They're not showing exactly what they're going to sell it for. You never really hear if they ever sell it. And I imagine, a lot of times there's one they're right on and there's one they're wrong on, and it's kind of feels like it's evening out. I'm sure they're making a profit, obviously, when they're buying the bulk boxes and stuff. But sometimes I'm like, I don't know. It's entertaining, but how profitable is what they're doing? You know what I mean? I think about that often. A lot to say. I've never gotten that from any of your lives or videos. Money in, money out. Yeah. What is the best 2023-24 basketball pack company? We talking about Repack company? That's another thing. I'll go ahead and say it. Repacks. If you want to gamble, go ahead. But I'll be honest. In 2020 did a box, a couple $50 boxes I did, and I tried to load it. This was my whole thought, was I'm getting stuff so cheap. I want to load it with at least $50 cards, book value on eBay. But the problem I had is no matter what I did, somebody would be unhappy because it didn't have the $50 card in there. It had 32 $3 cards that they could flip, but it would take time. So I got out of that racket. I think the only way to like do a repack, the only way to do a repack is to give people more value than what they paid. So you got it. You're charging, and people don't do that in modern day repacking. If you charge $50, you got to give $75 worth of cards. Now, how do you give them $75 or $65 worth of cards for $50? You don't pay $50 for the cards. You buy in lots. You pay 20, you pay 30, you make good deals, and then you can move it on. And everybody wins, and it's less gambling. But that's just my thought. Flea markets can have some cards. Most of the time, they are overpriced, but you can find some good stuff. Found an Allen and Ginter rip card, unripped, for $1 a few months ago. Yeah, most of the time, you're right. Most of the time, you got to sift through a lot of overpriced stuff at flea markets. But there are a lot of people who don't deal in cards, a lot of people who don't care, and a lot of people who don't know. And those are the people where you can typically get a deal. I mean, people will know that I'm a reseller most of the time, and will know that I flip cards most of the time. Depends, but a lot of times they'll figure it out. I'm filming. I have my GoPro on. So, I want a good deal, and I'll tell them, this is worth, I'm hoping $100, I can pay 50. And if you want to hold on to it and hope you can get more power to you. In fact, you should put this stuff on eBay instead of me. I'll tell people that, at least in my mind. I haven't really done it much in practice, but I would, because if somebody really sincerely asked me, I would tell them your best way to make the most money is post your cards individually on eBay. But the problem is most people, don't want to do that. It's not fun for most people. I kind of dig it. Hey, Gaby's in here. Dude, I love Gaby. What's up? How you doing, man? Gaby, if you're not following him, I mean, I know I talk about him like every freaking video, but he is in depth. Obviously, like all of us, doesn't know everything, but he does a lot of studying. I've learned a lot from him as well. So go check him out. And he's doing that. He sent me it too. He'll send it to you, for as far as I understand, for free. The list of all the prospects and the in Bowman U and stuff. Super helpful. So that's all good for the hobby. I love it, man. What percentage of cards do you sell from to viewers? Trying to figure out the type of boost a YouTube channel can provide. That's a good question. I mean, I've been selling cards on eBay since before I was a reseller. I would say roughly, because I also have my main channel, American Arbitrage, I would guess like 10, 15, 20%. Whatnot might be a little heavier, actually a lot heavier, because people are learning about me from my social media. So that could be like 50% or more. I don't know. But I would guess like 10 to 15, 20%, because not everybody's leaving me a message. That's not that often that I get a message. But you just kind of know sometimes, like I'll do a video on something and that card will sell. Maybe I priced it perfectly, or maybe they saw a video. So it helps. I talked about this on my short on TikTok, and I think I put it out here on YouTube. Do social media if you guys are at all inclined. Because I mean, Gaby, I know when you started, you were doing it kind of like you weren't doing as much like in front of the camera stuff, and you got more and more comfortable over time. And I feel like you're doing more and more content. And that's kind of how we all start. Like I kind of dipped my toes in it and then went all in. I kept hearing Gary V talking over and over, do this, do this, do this. And I was like, maybe I can get 1,500 people on TikTok. And my main TikTok is at 890,000 now. And I'm over 15,000 on I'm 23 or something on my card TikTok. So that worked out. YouTube's done really well. It's changed. It's not only changed how I sell, it's changed my life. Literally. I was in a small antique shop up in Roy. I was able to move now. I have a really nice stream of income outside of reselling full time, which is what I've always done since pretty much. I had to work a couple jobs because I sucked at reselling for a little while. I wasn't focused. But, now like next week, I'm going for 2 weeks to Florida to go meet with my podcast, Track Cash. We have people flying from all over the U.S. to come hang out with us and have the winter bash. So that's going to be fun. So yeah, I would encourage you guys to do it. Don't be scared. You could definitely do front face, like point of view stuff where you don't have to show your face. A lot of my videos are like that. Okay, I have a Daryl Strawberry signed card here. And is there more info on the card? Please tell me how much through the mail. Here it is. Or I don't know what you meant. TYY. 1985 All-Star Game Commemorative Set National League. First off, if the autograph card doesn't have a COA, it's really not sellable. You have to get a COA. A COA on a Daryl Strawberry would probably be worth it because his stuff maybe is $50, $60. I don't know. I have a whole box back here that I got locally from my buddy, And I have like 20, well, maybe not 20, but like 10 Larry Johnson autos, a Chris Paul auto, but they have no COAs. So I got to take a couple of them and probably go to JSA or PSA or Beckett and get them authenticated. And quite a few of them aren't worth it. I got like a Penn and Teller autograph. That might be worth it. I don't know. It was pretty cool when people said they found my store from the YouTube channel, or people comment and say here. Yeah, no, that definitely happens. Definitely. Do you think I could get views from opening a big retail pack of cards on YouTube? Yeah, you could. When it comes to that, you got to think about making your videos viewable for people. A lot of people will make videos just to make videos, and they forget about why they're doing it or who they're doing it for. You can see this in my TikToks, my shorts especially. I pace it differently. If you watch my videos, I'm not running to the card section. I am 1.5 speeding it up. And then I'm doing a voiceover afterwards so you can hear me better. I'm cutting to the chase. I'm telling a joke here or there occasionally. I'm adding a few little personality points. Everything I do is very particular. I'll say, you want to go buy all, I said like on the Donruss one I did, I'm like, you want to spend all your money on Donruss blasters. It's hyperbolic. It's a hook. Which I could talk TikTok stuff and YouTube all day. YouTube, I'm not as good at. Which top cards are worth the most, like legends and Hall of Fame players? Hi, I'm new to the channel. Well, welcome, Cody. That's a tough question. I mean, there's so much nuance to which tops cards are worth money. The newest set, the rookies, the lower numbered rookies, the autographs are going to be worth a little bit for a little while, sometimes a long while. There's historical tops rookies from like the 50s and 60s, Mickey Mantle. What I would encourage you to do, like I would tell with almost anybody, is watch YouTube videos. You could literally just go on like Topps baseball card rookies, and then you could find people talking about like the top rookies from the 80s and the 90s. And then it just takes time. And like I always have my YouTube going typically in the background while I'm working. And I know a lot of you do as well. And that's just it's a way to kind of through osmosis understand and learn stuff. It took a long time for me to get comfortable in front of the camera, Gaby's saying. Now I'm recording at shows, which I never thought I'd do. Like I have 2 GoPros, guys. I have this one and I have my second GoPro. I might even on this next show do 1 vertical and 1 horizontal so I don't have to edit it as much. This is a GoPro 12, the newest one, I believe. And this one actually has a mode where I can frame it right to where I can edit it into a TikTok without having to tilt it. Before, when I would edit into a TikTok, a GoPro, I'd have to move the frames around, which you can do, and I've had good success with, but it doesn't flow as well. So I've got that, and I've got like my chest mount for I wear, stuff like that. We're in Florida. I'm going to be in Palm Coast up in Jacksonville. The get together is going to be in Orlando. We're going to be in Orlando. I'm going to be in Palm Coast with my buddy for a little while. We're going to probably be filming a lot from my main channel, American Arbitrage. We're going to go to the Webster flea market. We're going to go to garage sales all over and film a lot for that. Probably do a lot of whatnots. Like on my account, my whatnot account, where I'm usually doing card auctions, those 2 weeks I'm probably going to do regular auctions or do auctions on my website, Dibdit, which by the way, dibdit.com. If you want to sell, if you want to do breaks or sports cards, let me know. Fill out a seller application and then DM me on Instagram. See if we can approve you. I'm kind of nervous to put my voice on camera. It just takes time. I got lucky because I did theater. And I even did like in front of the camera, like acting school when I was in when I was in high school. My parents paid too much for that back in the day. And I did theater and I got 3 degrees at the University of Utah, which I joke about a lot, but I'm 2 classes away from a minor in theater. I took like 10, 12 classes in theater, mostly acting stuff. So I like being in front of a camera. It doesn't make me nervous at all. I don't mind. I like, if you come up to me, I'm kind of shy going up to people, but I try to be friendly. I use ComC because I'm moderately lazy, have a lot to balance with personal and work life. If I didn't have those factors, I would absolutely grind out eBay daily. And that's a good point Gaby's saying. Like you have a full-time job, I believe, right? And you have like a little child and a wife. I have my girlfriend and I have adult stepchildren. So, and this is my full-time gig. So I have a lot of time to focus on my content, a lot of time to focus on grinding it out if I want. But that's another thing I want to talk about, like a mistake that I've made a little bit, and that I want to encourage you guys to be careful with. And I'm sure Flipping Sports guy would probably agree with this. let me see, how do I want to say this? You got to be disciplined when you're buying stuff. So if you're buying a box of cards, right? 3 rows, right? 200 cards, you have to get that stuff listed one way or another. If you're going to grind it out on eBay, get a scanner if you need to, or take photos, grind it out. One of my biggest problems is buying cards and letting them sit. Something that's helped me a lot is Whatnot. I just got through a 2-row basically today on my Whatnot auction, a 2-row. So I don't know how many cards that was, 200, 300, 400 cards in an hour. Turned that into cash. A lot of those cards have been sitting forever. I mixed in some of my bargain box finds, mixed in a couple cards that had sat on eBay for 4 weeks and I'm like tired of looking at. So hopefully, you know, everybody got good deals and I moved it. I got rid of it, got it out of my face. For once, I saw you in your last video, Gaby, that you have a balance. So if you buy a card and list it and don't need to have the card physically right, just repost it right away. Yeah, you can do that on ComC. On ComC, you could buy a card that is in there that they're storing, and then you can immediately relist it, especially if you got a good deal and you know what the market value is. You can also send it to auction on eBay through ComC. There's lots. ComC is a definite. I've sent cards into ComC. It's a grind. You got to love it. I typically get bored with it, which is probably not the smart thing to do. But another mistake I would try to avoid is not being aware of who you are as a person. We're all a little bit different. I love like the lower end cards. I'm actually starting to get away from the super low end. I'm trying to get to like the $5 to $20 range for most of my listings. But if you know, if you know you love the dollar box grind, go all in on that. If you know you're not going to be the slab guy, don't waste your time doing slabs. Know thyself, self-awareness, and go all in on your strengths, guys. All of us have weaknesses. All of us have strengths. This is a Gary V thing, guys. We all have weaknesses. We all have strengths. Double up, triple up on your strengths. Make those so good that you're one of the best at those. And then your weaknesses, in my opinion, do enough to get by. I'm not super punctual, so I just need to try not to be super late. I don't have a job, so it's not going to cost me my job if I'm 5 minutes late. But for me, a half hour late sometimes is early, which is not a good habit. But just for an example, I'm trying to improve that, but I'm not going to ride myself too hard if I'm struggling with that, because my real things that make me money is not the punctuality. It's the making my videos. It's me listing on eBay. It's me selling on Whatnot. That's what's making me money. And I shouldn't worry too much about my weaknesses. I just need to be good enough. I don't want to be bad at it. I just want to be good enough, if that makes sense. I don't know anyone would watch a kid open packs instead of adults. Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, people, yeah, like I know there's some, like there's the kids card one that Jeff Wilson's kids do. I mean, I'm sure there's a market, just like there's like a YouTube kids section. I'm sure there's a market for it. I had one. I have bad acne, so I can't vlog. I wouldn't worry about it. Look at me. Look at me. Not super photogenic, but I don't care. Dude, people relate to authenticity too. Just be yourself. You could say I got acne, make fun of me. Who cares? I mean, I hear it all. I chew my nails. If you guys watch my shorts, you probably noticed. People, every video, stop chewing your nails. I just tell them I'm going to do what I want. I don't care. If you don't want to watch, don't watch. Don't care. What can they say to that? I don't care. I mean, if I cared, I'd stop biting my nails, and probably should. But, ultimately, it doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to everything. So why worry about it? So I wouldn't try to let that keep you too down. As you get older, too, you care less about what people think of you in that sense. Does anybody have any George Gervin for sale? I have a George Gervin story. So for whatever reason, in the 90s, I was a fan of George Gervin. He had obviously retired, I think, in 87 from the Bulls. He was on the Bulls last. He was at the Summer League game, 2000, 2001, the Utah Rocky Mountain Review Summer League. And his son, G. Gervin, who had played Georgia or something, he was on the Summer League team, I think, for the Grizzlies. And he was there to watch his kid. And I was maybe the only person who went up to him for an autograph. I was 16. I don't know. I shouldn't have known who George Gervin was. I went up to him, and I vividly remember this. I was like probably the most stoked to go up to George Gervin. And he said, no, he wouldn't give me an autograph. He denied me. Which, if I was an adult, would have been one thing. I don't think you should do that to kids, but that's okay. It's his prerogative. I had another situation, like if you guys remember Utah Jazz, Brian Russell, he did the same thing, but he did it a different way. He was super friendly, like shook our hands, gave us a fist bump, but said he just didn't want to sit signing all day. He was watching the game. So he handled it with like a different vibe, if that makes sense. George Gervin was kind of like, eh. And then Brian Russell did the same thing, but in a super nice way. So, but his cards he's got some autographs out there for sure. I would like to have gotten one. Do I enjoy auto numbered cards or rookies? I prefer numbered cards the best. Would be more than autos. I mean, I like autos and they typically have value. I don't really care about autograph hunting anymore like I did when I was younger. I like a cool looking numbered card. Like, I don't even know, with cards, like aesthetically, you know it when you see it. There's some that I just love. I think Chronicles can be a really fun rip, even though it's so cheap. Problem is, it's so cheap nowadays that kind of does take some of the fun away. Because people talk about this all the time, you know. It's all about the money. But even if you're a collector, for most people, it's all about the money because nobody wants to open up a product of cards that have no value, whether you want to sell them or not. So Chronicles, as cool as the product is, I wish it had a little bit more value. What was the best card you ever found in a bargain box? I mean, I found a lot. I haven't found like $1,000 or any crazy amount card. I'm trying to think of something recently. I mean, I found that King Griffey Jr. gold signature for 50 cents. Like it was a parallel collector's choice. Didn't look like much. I sold for like 48. Sold that Pylon card from Burbank that I got for $2. Sold that for over 100, but it got damaged in the mail and got sent back. So it's in one of my boxes, I think. But yeah, you can find stuff all the time, guys. Really, the bargain box game is not about going and spending a quarter and finding $100 card. It's about spending a quarter, spending $1, spending $2, and flipping for 3, 5, 8, 12. That's really where the game is. And it's a grind. And some of the problems with and the discouraging nature of the grind is like I've had days where I've had 15, 20, 30 sales and I made $35. Whereas I do other stuff. I sell other stuff. I sold a book that I got at the thrift store 3 days ago, Prometheus comic books, complete series. I paid $5. I sold it in like 6 hours for 120. That's a lot smarter use of my time, but I love cards. So love the Griffey. Yeah, Griffey is like still wildly popular. My favorite find in a bargain box too. Gosh, I love, like I've been collecting Skybox autographics. So when I go to Burbank this time and I go through all their $2 autographs, I'm probably going to end up spending like 50, 60 bucks on just cards for myself, which is insane for me because I don't buy stuff for myself pretty much at all. This hat was a privilege that I spent like 30 bucks for on eBay. And I don't usually do that, but I had been buying different hats at different games because I went to the Dodgers game in LA this year. I went to Texas. I went to see the Rangers play this year. And I buy a hat at every stadium. It's like a tradition. But I'd be wearing like my Dodgers hat, and I don't really care about the Dodgers. And people be like, "You're a Dodgers fan?" I'm like, not really. I mean, they're okay. But I'm an A's fan. So I definitely wanted the A's hat. And plus, they're coming to Vegas. I'm in Vegas. So that's what I like about your content. You don't spend that much, but it's so much fun to watch. See, that's the big thing I saw missing in sports card content in general. There was people doing this, but not at any large scale at the moment when I started, is that there was so many people going to card shows. And this is what people think when they're making content. It's about, okay, I just spent $20,000 at the card show. And then the next person's like, well, I got to spend $25,000, right? And that might get an initial view, but like a minute in, if your video sucks, people are going to leave. So really what I think people want in a card video is they want an enjoyable video, and an enjoyable video can have totally different meanings for everybody, right? But what I try to do with my videos is try to have a little bit of education in it, try to have a little bit of story time stuff in it, and also just show you that there's stuff all around us if you're willing to do the work that you can make money on. You don't have to go out and spend 10 grand and pay 80% of comps, and maybe sell it for $500 profit. You could go out and grind the dollar boxes, buy 500 cards and make $500 profit too. But you spent $500 or you spent $250. Or maybe you got it in a bundle deal for $150, $150. Or maybe you just have $20. Gosh knows I've been there many times. I got $5, I got $10, I got $20 that I can spend. It'd be fun to go just hang out at the dollar boxes for 2 hours and chill and get in that zone. I think it's relatable to a lot of people. What city did you grow up in Utah? Farmington. I'm from California. When I was 10, I moved to Utah. We moved to Farmington. And then I lived with Dawn, my girlfriend, in Clearfield for about 7-8 years too. So Farmington and Clearfield. You found a Badgers basketball draft pick auto. I believe it was Nigel Hayes. He doesn't have any autos and was famous. Exactly. I didn't even know that was that good when I picked it up. I picked it up because it was like $1. And then for whatever reason, I was just kind of going through, double checking on your phone. Your phone is your best friend. And I realized, holy crap, that's really good. That'll be fun to share with people. Now there's probably 3 or 4 people out there that'll remember that when they're in a bargain box, and they'll find that Nigel Hayes auto as well and make 50, 60, whatever amount. And that's awesome. Pay it forward, because for every time that may happen because of something you heard from me, that happens to me because of something I heard from Gaby or I heard from Card Collector too. There's plenty of money in this business in the low end. We can all find stuff every day and all make money and all be happy. Easy peasy. Yeah, I went to Davis. Farmington High didn't open till like 5-10 years ago. I'm class of 02, so they tore down Davis High like the year after I graduated and rebuilt it. It was an old, like 100-year-old high school. Yeah, but I went to high school, class of 02. I don't know if you guys know, like, what are they called? The Diesel brothers, like Diesel Dave. I went to high school with him. He's a big YouTuber. Davis High is the home of Nolan Bushnell, the guy who founded Atari. They're doing a movie on him right now. Dollar box volume, buy $25 cards for 20, sell those for 50, go back, buy 60 cards for 50, grind that out to 100, rinse and repeat. Amen. But the key is, and this is a mistake a lot of people make, is they'll get that stack and it's overwhelming. List it. You have to be disciplined. It's hard, but the discipline will pay off, and the discipline will pay off by giving you more money to go do what you love a second time. Go back to the bargain boxes. That's the way I like to look at it. I got to do my best to list, and I'm not always perfect with that because I'm not always dependent on it selling right away. I mean, Gaby, you're probably the same way. You have a job. You know, if I don't sell these cards right away, I can still go out and pick. I can still go out and look for more cards, but you got to be disciplined, especially when you're on a shoestring budget. The 100,000 plus spending challenge videos are not for me. I like intentional with my buys on a limited budget. Yeah, no, I'm always on a pretty limited budget, unfortunately. But I don't know if I wouldn't mind having a little bit more, but like that I would feel comfortable spending. But I can't imagine like having just a ridiculous amount, because I feel like sometimes having that budget, even if you have more money you could spend, having that budget helps you be disciplined, helps you make good purchases, helps you not take chances. And that's another thing I wanted to say. A big mistake that people make is in speculation is taking chances they can't afford to lose. People do that in Vegas all the time, betting, right? It's perfectly fine, I guess, if you want to waste money for the most part, to bet if you have the money to lose, right? If it's not going to hurt you if you lose $100 or $1,000, if you want to donate it to the casino, be my guest, because that's usually what happens. But if you don't have the money to lose, you got to be careful. And you can't take unnecessary risk. And this is coming from experience. I have had a limited budget, spent my money in reselling and cards, both places before, and made a bad purchase, and then I'm screwed. Then I have to try to get $100 back, maybe on a $200 buy or something, or break even, but spend 20 hours to just get my $200 back that I had initially before I even left, if that makes sense. Or make $30 profit and spend 20 hours of work and make $1.25 an hour. So, we got to try to limit that. It's hard, but the more disciplined we can be, the better. And the best way I feel like to be disciplined in this job is by going to the bargain boxes or finding these bargain deals. Because if you go out right now, for me, for example, if I go out right now to the bargain boxes and I find a CJ Stroud Mosaic rookie card base for $1, which has happened, I put that on Whatnot. That's a $3, $4, $5, $6 bill 9 times out of 10. So that is cash for me. I built up a TikTok. I built up a following on Whatnot. Sure, you can do that too, though. Trust me, I didn't have this following at one point. And if you don't have it, you can get it. Trust me, it isn't rocket science. It's just freaking work, man. It's a lot of it, but it's work. But it's fun, hopefully. Hopefully you like this. You went to Layton? Awesome, man. Good old Layton High School. We're supposed to kind of like be rivals, Davis, with Viewmont in Centerville. But I always felt like I was more rivals with the kids up in Layton, honestly. It's kind of closer, too. Layton High School was maybe 10 minutes from our high school. eBay will always reward sellers who are willing to put in the work. Yeah. Every time my eBay sales slow down or I make less money, it's for two reasons. One, I'm not listing consistently. That's the main reason always. If I stop listing every day or I stop listing a certain amount every day, my sales go down inevitably. eBay is not really the place to list and go away. You will sell stuff, but you won't make a consistent living doing that. You might for a couple days afterwards, but it's eventually going to get rid of the hot stuff and just the stuff that takes time. That's why you got to keep putting stuff in. Also, that's really it. You guys just have to be consistent with eBay and price your stuff right. That's what a lot of people aren't doing as well. If you're having trouble moving your items, your cards on eBay, it's one of two things or three things, I guess. It could be the wrong card, it could be the wrong price, or it could be, I guess, the wrong time to sell it as well. But you can fix all those things. You could sell it in a couple months if you need to, or you can lower the price, or you can buy better players, I guess. I'm a kid who wants to start selling cards. Any tips? Yeah, definitely discuss it with your parents. Maybe they'll be willing to open up an eBay account that you can work with them with. I think eBay is a great thing. I wish I would have done eBay when I was 15, 16 instead of Burger King. Maybe they'll let you set up at a card show with them or something. Maybe try that. But if you really just watch these videos, watch videos on how to flip cards, study. eBay's your best friend. If you're like, you know what, I saw Najee Harris have 2 touchdowns last week. Are his cards going up? You can go check that on eBay. You could look at Terapeak on eBay and research. I wonder how much his Prism Silver's going for. Last week it was $8. This week it's $9.50. It's went up $1.50. Oh, maybe if I find that in a $2 box, I'll pick it up, And it's not so much that you're going to find that Najee Harris. It's just that you're thinking about this stuff, and it prepares you when you go to the bargain box and you don't find a Najee Harris, but you find something similar, and then you go, okay, this reminds me of that. He also had a big game. Maybe I should look him up. And then you look that up and you're like, oh, that is a good card. That's $7 and it's 2. I'm going to buy it. So and also like it's repetition. Go to the card shop as much as you're able to, and you're allowed to. I go to the card shop all the time and just chill. It's fun. And then, you start to get pattern recognition. You start to understand what's hot. I mean, like I made a lot of money on Ellie De La Cruz when he got hot in whenever it was May or June or whatever, because his stuff was littered in the dollar boxes, not his Bowman First, but his 2023 stuff. And I think I picked up like 30 and I doubled my money, that night, just not big money, but simple, easy money. Should I make my account a business account or personal for eBay? Well, I mean, technically with like taxes and stuff, if you're making money and you're selling with the intention of making money, you're going to have to pay taxes on it, whether eBay is reporting it with a 1099 or not. A lot of people get into that $600, if you're making under 20,000, you don't have to pay taxes. That's not correct. If you make $10,000 and eBay doesn't 1099 you, you still have to report that $10,000 and pay taxes on it. There's like some leeway if it's like a hobby, and that's usually like the $600 range. But if you're trying to flip it to make money, you got to pay taxes. So you might as well just set up a business and do it that way. But once again, don't listen to tax advice from us, guys. Go talk to an accountant. I could be wrong. I've had the same guy I've worked with for like 12 years now. So he handles all my stuff. Send him the information. He figures it out. I'm a few dollar box digger and I pick up thousands from my PC. I'm pivoting my PC to sets and would rather have cash. So I'm ready to unload. I need to hit up your site. Yeah. You can definitely check out dibdit.com where we're selling cards. And just, if you don't know what Dibdit is, my personal site where we do everything on Dibdit. We do live sales like Whatnot. We do buy it nows like eBay. And we also have like a Discord feature where you can chat. A lot of people are chatting and going, do you have this? And they go, yeah, let me post it on Dibdit real quick here on the site. And they post it and they make the deal. And then it's all processed through Dibdit. And so you don't have to worry about like tracking. You don't have to worry about buyer protections and stuff like that, as far as I understand. So that it's pretty cool. I mean, basically it was a company that got a hold of me and my buddies and we work with them. So it's not like we created the website. We're just working, using our social media influence, hopefully to build something fun. But you can also use eBay to get rid of the stuff. You don't have to use my site. You can not use ComC, which is probably the easiest, but it does cost a little upfront money. Yeah, I'm going to be at Front Row, man. I'm going to be at front row Friday or Saturday and Sunday. It's a little for me to get used to because I'm used to card shows in Utah, and it's typically like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Mormon country is typically not something. But here in Vegas, obviously, it's Saturday, Sunday, which makes more sense. I'm going to be there both days. The harder thing with cards, they have to be flipped quick. Vintage can be easier because it's not as time sensitive. In general, yes, you're right. But I mean, if there's a documentary or plus that whole documentary thing that we've been hearing about since the pandemic doesn't really move the needle like it did 2 years ago. It might a little bit. I mean, Gaby, you would be the perfect one to talk to about that. How well did you do with the Swamp King stuff? I know you sold some of the stuff, but I think you had to kind of liquidate other stuff, right? I'm not sure how well it worked for you in the long run. Obviously, what happened with The Last Dance was kind of like a perfect storm, right? You probably could move your Luke Longley cards at a premium during that in the pandemic, and now you can't. But yeah, vintage, you typically don't have to worry because a Frank Thomas, you could wait 6 months to get that back if you think it's a PSA 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever. But in general, most cards, I would say modern cards, I would flip immediately. Like I think a lot about this Tom Brady card, and it's a gimmick and it's interesting, and more power to Topps for at least trying stuff that's creative. I'm not even like being negative about it. Some people would be, and I probably even alluded to some negativity about it. But they're doing something. But that card, I can't imagine that card being worth a ton. Maybe the 1 of 1, but like the number to 50, how are they going to do anything but go down? That I could be wrong. Let me preface this. I could be 100% wrong. I don't know the future, but in my opinion, I don't see how they can't go down. It's just like people are going to be less interested in Tom Brady in 5 years, less interested in the Bowman set from 5 years ago, less interested in him in an Expo uniform because they made 40 products since then with him in the Expos uniform. Do you think they're never going to do that again where they put him in an Expo uniform and make autographs? I doubt it. So it's interesting. Like people were talking 3 years ago about 2012 Prism football. I don't see anybody talking about it as much as they did now. And that was 2-3 years ago. Yeah, I'm a big documentary hype guy. Swamp Kings was all over the place. Tim Tebow sold incredibly well. Others did not. Hard Knocks was kind of a flop for me. Johnny Manziel was bananas. See, that's fascinating. See, that's cool. Like you learn some really interesting things that you can really only learn by taking some chances. But like I said, I'm assuming, Gaby, you took chances with money that you could play around with, right? Money that you could afford to lose, hypothetically, or lose money on. You'd get money back. So just be careful. If you're going to play in that speculation game, just play with money you can afford to lose, just like if you're gambling. And then very, very well, you can make money in it. And that's fun. Everybody does it, I feel like, in this business to an extent. I try not to talk too much about it, in specifics at least. I feel like Bowman will milk these first Bowmans of retired stars. Yeah, I think like the Babe Ruth one's silly. I mean, like I'm fine with it. But if that's driving your product, that's a problem, right? If that's like a fun additional thing, like an extra, cool. But I think if that's like what's driving box breaks, a Babe Ruth 1 of 1 or first Bowman card, first off, you're going to run out of the top tier guys. Like in 6 years, you're going to have the Tris Speaker Bowman first. Are you just going to do a different Babe Ruth, like in a different pose? Or is it going to be a negative taco fractor or whatever? I have no problem with it because they're trying. Before, it felt like Topps and these companies weren't trying. So hats off to anybody who puts effort into it, creativity into it, and gives something a try. There needs to be more celebration of that in the community as a whole, I feel. Or at least that's more what I think of as time goes on. But in general, I believe it's a gimmick, and I don't know if it's the solution. But also, I have no clue what the solution is. Here's a hobby hot take that you guys might find interesting. I don't care if the hobby 10Xs. I don't know why everybody talks about that. I don't care. Is that weird? Is that bad? I mean, I want as many people who want to buy and sell sports cards to do it. If that means 10 times the amount of people, cool. I don't know. I don't know if it matters as much as people say. Maybe for the modern product, right when it comes out, sure. But like, I think I could be totally wrong on that. But I think it's like a buzzword thing that I don't know if it matters as much as people say. I don't know why I feel strongly about that. I could be dead wrong on that, honestly. A lot of research and calculated risk. I would consider myself risk averse. So stuff that I buy, I feel confident in. This is Gaby talking. I study the market, know it, and take advantage. Yeah, there you go. I got my son a Top Series 2 box, and the best card was a foil Babe Ruth card. It's a cool looking card, I imagine, as well. It's all what people like. If it sells, who cares? I'm just glad a lot of sorry, I can't see that because the heart thing's in the way, but a lot of the something boys are out. Yeah. The people like during the pandemic and stuff that just came in and kind of made money and left. That's going to always happen in any market. It feels like when things get hot. I just feel like I celebrate this time. This is where it's starting to feel like it's back to normal, where you can like really just start to grind and know a little bit more in general what to expect. Like right now, I could buy a dollar card in a bargain box and flip it for $3, just like I could in 2016. I mean, I guess in the pandemic, there was more upside even, so it was even better. But now it's a little bit more predictable. I'm done with dollar cards and flipping stuff, but you have to watch the market and try not to buy stuff in season since you're paying a premium. But also, Nick, everybody's talking about buying out of season. Think about this. Like everybody's buying out, more and more people every year are buying out of season because everybody's talking about don't buy the stuff in season, buy it out of season. Eventually, is everybody just going to be buying all year round? That's good for everybody, by the way. It comes down to seasonality. Yes. You could probably get some Jackson Holiday cards pretty cheap right now. And there's a good chance he could be on the big league roster in April. But it's probably costs a lot more than what it would have 5 years ago for a similar prospect. So the market's changing a little bit. But the one thing that doesn't change is knowing what the current price of something is as of this week or today and buying it undervalued, right? That doesn't ever change. If there is a Donruss Elite Cecil Fielder card from 1991, numbered to 10,000, $28 card, give or take, I would imagine, 25. If I find that for $1 in the bargain box, doesn't matter if it's baseball season, doesn't matter if it's January, doesn't matter if it's 2032, 2012, that card's worth $28 or whatever. So that's always going to be possible. That's why bargain boxes are so interesting and why dealing with bargain cards are interesting, because you can oftentimes take those stacks of bargain cards. Like when I'm at 702, I'm giving them $150, $180 worth of cards, and they're saying like $120 carry. So I'm getting 60 cards free, or all of the 4 $10 cards I picked out for free, however I want to look at it. And there's something to be said that I might get a little bit of a sweetheart deal because I do the content and talk about their shop. But still, I mean, within a couple bucks here or there, you could also make content though too and get a better deal possibly. But I would imagine they would take a bid off for anybody because they're taking a chunk of stuff that's sitting there and taking up space. I tend to get on tangents, guys. So if I need to focus in, let me know. Sealed stuff still needs to take a tumble. Singles have. Wax needs to follow. Yeah, I think wax is interesting. I think the problem is with wax is when a lot, and this is once again an opinion, not any sort of knowledge, because nobody knows. I feel like a lot of the problem is when people actually open up like one of these 2019-20 Prism basketball, which has gone down because the rookie class has, but there oftentimes aren't going to find big cards. So I think just the reality of what's actually inside these boxes is going to catch up with people over time. The boxes are silly and probably for the most part should have been, I don't know. I think I would have sold them at this point for sure if I had them. Also, I'm very new to sports cards. What is wax? It's unopened boxes from either Walmart or the card shop, the hobby shop. Every card pretty much comes out of a wax product, out of a box, out of a pack. Not everything, but most. Advice on how to unload my 100K Wander Franco collection. Probably like stoke a nice fire and then just heat it. I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I would personally probably, that's tough because he might, I don't know. Like I haven't followed every aspect of his allegations and stuff, but that's a tough one. You got to really think. You have 100K, you have a substantial amount of money in it. At the same time, he may be worth the most ever right now. He may continue to go down and never come back. So somebody, I don't know. You're probably going to take a loss no matter what, unless, allegations are dropped or whatever, and he comes back and was amazing. But I don't know. That's a tough one. There's a lot of people in that situation. And if it's a collection, that's one thing. And that's why like you turn and burn. You buy stuff low and you sell it high. This is the problem with speculating a lot of times. Like if you're collecting for yourself, who cares if you win or lose because you're a collector and a fan of that player? I guess based on what happened with him, you may no longer be a fan. Then you might as well just get rid of it for whatever. But that's the problem with speculation is typically for every victory in general, this is a generalization, there's a following loss, right? So if you're buying under, a $3 card and it's worth $6 and you go sell that week, or you go post it that week and it sells within a couple days or a couple weeks, you're going to always win that way. Would that $3 possibly card become $20 because the player plays well next year? Sure. But he also could be out of the league next year. So take your wins when you can. And you may cash out a little soon, but you never lose if you take a profit, ever. Nobody once has lost money taking a profit, I guess, unless you consider time and driving, but like you shouldn't, or maybe you should, I don't know. We could be interchangeable with sealed products. Packs used to be made with wax paper. Yeah, they just call it wax because it used to be a wax paper pack. I sold some random modern Browns and Packers players recently, non-stars. I think the playoff push helps. Oh, I bet. I mean, Flacco stuff seems to be doing really good at this moment if you're watching right before week 18 or whatever. For obvious reasons. I mean, his story is amazing. His story is insane. Like, that's the best story of the year, in my opinion. Being on your couch and then coming in and having more touchdowns in December than Kenny Pickett has had in his whole career. And he'll go up in value a little bit, but he'll never be as hyped as, whoever the next QB prospect is, because he's 38 and it's not sexy. But it will be, in my opinion, a good time to cash out on some of his cards. It's got to be cool. I was, seeing some of these prices for some of the cool RPA stuff of his. It's got to be cool for the people who just had those cards sitting in boxes for years that couldn't get rid of them or didn't even have them posted because it wasn't worth it now to be able to make substantial money. That's why if you have a really cool card, especially like a quarterback who's kind of floating around, you might as well just put it in a box. You never know. You never know. I mean, Joe Flacco's a perfect example of you never know. I got 20 of his cards I need to dump. Yeah, I mean, my opinion, I'd move it. I mean, I don't see him. I mean, he might win the Super Bowl, but let's say he wins the Super Bowl, which would be dope. That would probably, in my opinion, my guess, and this is a guess, would be his peak. Because I doubt he's going to come back next season and go 16-0. So he's inevitably going to go up and down throughout that season. He'd have to win another Super Bowl, and it probably wouldn't be as high as the first Super Bowl, even though, he's obviously won a Super Bowl in the past. But if the Jets signed Flacco, they might have gone far. Yeah. Same with Geno Smith. Yeah, they trusted a little too much in the BYU boy, in Zach Wilson, for sure. That was pretty wild. Aaron Rodgers getting injured the pretty much first drive of the season. Caught alive. Great. Yeah, thanks, man. I'm glad that some of you guys are catching alive for the first time. If you have any questions, let me know. We're just kind of talking about mistakes to avoid when you're reselling cards. A lot of these are ones that I've struggled with. It's being undisciplined, meaning like I'm overspending or not posting cards I buy. I will often buy boxes of cards. And one of the biggest things to help me this year that's been huge is Whatnot. Whatnot helps me just roll through cards, like just excess, like $1, $2, $3 stuff that I don't want to wait on. Like, I mean, and then I'll mix in like stuff that's been on eBay for a little bit, or stuff that I just bought because I know people like, or some hot stuff that I found. And then certain other stuff like eBay, a lot of times for me is for like, this is not the best card in the world, but like this guy, I think he's on the Jaguars, Ernest Johnson. This is like a $6, $7, $8 card. I don't think he's well known enough to go for much on my Whatnot. He might go in my box that I save stuff for, like to see if he actually has a big game, and then I pull it out of the box and sell it then. I have a bunch of low-end cards that I separated into a box like that I'm not in a rush to sell because I don't have a lot of money in. So I'll just wait until somebody has a decent game, hopefully, and then I'll pull out the cards of them and list them, or pull them out and put them in Whatnot and hopefully get a premium there. I have a Ricky Corbin signature. That's a good card right now. For sure, Corbin had a really good rookie year. Not so much a question, but there is a tab you can add to advertise your other channels, assuming you want people to cross over. Oh, I didn't even know that. I mean, to be honest, you're more than welcome to check out my other channel. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, that's, if you guys like, I'm not really worried about cross promoting, but I probably should be. But it's the same. The cool thing is, like, I'm American Arbitrage everywhere, and American Arbitrage cards. It's easy to remember. You just take the cards off and you can see my main channel, which is this time of year, a lot of thrifting content. I go to a lot of thrift stores and stuff. but I need to figure that out. So maybe I'll have to figure that out for the next one. I'm still kind of learning how to do these lives on YouTube. I appreciate the insight. Dude, you've come to be my favorite card person to watch on YouTube and TikTok. Thank you, Vintage Indie. I appreciate it, man. Always appreciate your kind words and everything, dude. Cool, funny, informative, and real good stuff, man. Thank you. That's great to hear, dude. That's really what it's about, is try to be authentic, try to be informative, also realize my obvious flaws. I'm not a perfect reseller or a perfect card guy, but I am me, and I'll do the best I can. So I'll try to give you guys as much information on the things that, and sometimes it's stuff that I'm not even doing great, but like if we all did it together, we would all improve. And really, the ultimate thing about this is that I hope most of us in this just love sports cards. Sometimes people give me crap because I don't know like the latest score, because I don't really follow live sports like I used to. Speaking of which, does anybody know a channel on YouTube that had, you guys remember like some of us older guys, like in Sports Center, it would give you a 2-minute breakdown of a game with commentary, boom shakalaka stuff. I swear everything on YouTube, if I want to watch the highlights of the Jazz game, I got to watch 10 minutes of like every play. I mean, is that just what it is nowadays? Does anybody know like any channels that do a succinct 2-3 minute breakdown a la Sports Center back in the 90s? I guess I could watch Sports Center, but I don't even think I have cable hooked up to my TV here. No one follows live sports anymore. Just look at the stats. Yeah, that seems to be. Yeah, TikTok. I definitely get like moments on TikTok all day, but really enjoy your content. Any advice on not getting hosed on Whatnot when you were new to hosting shows? Trader Griffs, that's a great question. Start cards at what you're willing. Here's my biggest advice. Let me rephrase this. And I talked about this in my other video. You make the money in the buy. Put cards up. If you're thinking about cards, the best cards you can put up for the least amount of money. So try to go into like a card show or a card shop and buy like a box for a couple hundred, where you're like hopefully less than $1 a card. And hopefully it's like some decent, not like high-end kabooms and stuff, but like stuff that's relevant, modern stuff, especially like if it had a bunch of like Justin Fields rookies, not high-end, but just average, even though he's not the best right now, stuff like that. The best advice I can give you is not overspend on the cards so that you can build your account. You got to remember, if you're doing Whatnot, it's going to take time. Not every auction is good. And the key is to try to make a little bit of money at the first if possible, but be willing to even break even if you have to build your account up, because you want to grow. You want to have followers. You want to have people. You want to be consistent. So start your cards where you're happy. Like I start everything at $2 because of the 35-cent fee at $1 kind of hurts it pretty bad. Like you end up making 59 cents on a $1 card if it goes for $1. So I try to be at $2. And if cards aren't going for $2, I might add a couple cards, make it 3 cards. But hopefully I'm so negligible on my cost that I'll make money. And then also you have to realize when you're on Whatnot, you can't win every time, guys. You can't win every transaction. That's not how it should be. A good auction should have a win for them, a win for you. And if you're good at your job, even your losses, you're making a little bit of money on. Even when they get a deal where they can make a profit on eBay, you bought the card so well that you're still making a profit. But even when you don't, let people have a win, because you're going to also get a win in return. It's going to ebb and flow. It's karma. But if you buy correctly, you're going to be able to be profitable. And there's auctions that are, and I have, about 10,000 followers, and there's auctions where it's discouraging to this day. And then there's auctions where I feel like I've figured out the secret of Whatnot. I'm going Super Saiyan and I'm about to get rich. And then the next week I get, kicked right in the stomach, So this is just how it is, man. The money is made in the buy is my favorite advice you've given, or how you will hook up people you sell to and they do vice versa. Building relationships with LCSs is great. It really is, guys. I mean, almost I'll give you some like insight in my other business. When I lived in Utah, there was a good friend of mine who, here's another thing, was my actual friend. I wasn't just friend with him to get a deal. He was a person, and still is a person, that is my friend. And if we weren't reselling, he's my friend. So don't just build relationships and fake friendships to get deals. 1, have authentic friendships. It makes life better. 2, He would do estate clean out. So he would go do an estate sale. And inevitably, when you're selling out a person's entire life, basically, you're not going to typically sell it in a weekend. So he didn't do the estate sale. He had a connection with the estate sale company. So after that, they're like, okay, we can't sell all this stuff. We don't want to deal with it. Mike, will you give us $400, $800 for all this stuff? And Mike would be like, sure. And I'm talking furniture, $1,000 pieces of furniture sometime. And then he would call us up. He'd call all his people up, and we were one of the first on the list. And he'd be like, hey, Carrie and Don, come on out. Here's the address. We would go out, and he'd be like, we would just literally sometimes get a room worth of stuff, a room, hundreds of items, $100. Because you also have to realize in something like that, we were helping him because he had to get rid of everything in a certain amount of time. So he was okay taking pennies on the dollar because he's going to make money. He was selling some certain stuff. The stuff he enjoyed, he sold separately. He made plenty of profit. We made profit. The estate sale company made profit. Everybody in a good economic transaction, I feel like, should make money. That's why repacks generally aren't good, right? Because there's always somebody who ends up losing, right, in the transaction. In a good market, or I feel like when things are done correctly, everybody wins. Like I go to a bargain box, right? These people don't want to deal with the low end stuff, right? They don't want to deal with it. So the best thing they can do is just sell it at a discount, but they're getting something out of it instead of, I don't know, throwing it away or donating it. I'm taking it and then I am selling it on Whatnot to somebody else who's going to flip it and hopefully make money, or somebody who wants it, the end consumer. So in a perfect system, everybody wins all the way up until the point where it gets to the end consumer. And in this market, oftentimes there is no end consumer. Who's the person who's going to hold on to the Brady gold vinyl 1-of-1 autograph and not sell it? Who is that person? Do they exist? Because anybody who's buying it probably is buying it, in my opinion, with the idea that they're going to hold it and sell it later, right? And I would, 100%. So here's my tangent on that. I have a red Schoendice manager St. Louis card, 9 of 10. How much will that? I don't know. What you want to do, chances, is you want to go on eBay and look at sold listings. That's so rare. You might have to look at that set to see what other similar cards sold for in that set in that numbering range, or what other red cards have sold for, to 25. It's a tough one. And then you just kind of put a price up, and I always put best offer. If you put a card up for, like I got that Nikola Jovic card out of a box break, 101 gold vinyl out of Flux. I put it up at $1,000, best offer. Did I think I would get 1,000? Not really. You can dream, right? I ended up getting a lot of offers. And after a couple days, I realized like 400 was about the number I felt was gettable, because I was getting $200 offers. Like I think at first somebody gave me a 400 and they were around that, and I denied it. So I'm like, I could probably get that. And the next time I got one near that, I took it. So best offer is huge, especially on a rare card like that. But, also red is not hugely relevant anymore. He's a Hall of Famer, but you're probably not going to make a ton on it either way. Probably like a $30 to $60 card would be my guess, but I could be wrong. Where do you do your best buying? Card shows, I think, are the best where I am. Yeah, I would go card shows are the most fun and the best. Just because there's just so many options. It's kind of like a flea market. If you can't get a deal here, you can just walk over there. At a card shop, if they don't have deals in the boxes of the card shop, you got to find another card shop, and there might not be another one, right? Or if you're an eBay, actually is underrated. If you're willing to grind eBay, and Gaby, I think, does this all the time. If you're willing to grind eBay and really put in the work, you could buy more cards than you could possibly afford to buy every day. I know for one, like I've been doing my Skybox out of graphic PC a little bit. I find the fun for me is finding the $1, $2, $3 Skybox autographics. Eventually I'm going to have to buy the Garnett, the Grant Hill, the ones that are super expensive. But I bet your bottom dollar, I'm not going to pay top dollar for that card. I'm going to wait till I find a moment, and I'll get that $120 autographic for $72, because I'm just paying attention or whatever. So, and that's part of the fun of it, is the hunt. My parents never bring me to card shows. You got to get them too, man. How much will you pay for it if I sell it to you? I don't know. Probably not the guy to sell it to. I'm the cheap dollar box guy. You want to sell it to somebody who's probably, I don't know. I would rather buy something like that in a collection. So I'm not the one that you should ask on that, because I won't give you top dollar. But I will tell you, maybe, gosh, I don't want to give any advice, especially because you're a kid. I'm not sure, but just be careful. If you can have your parents in a negotiation with you, that's the way to do it. Make sure that nobody's taking advantage. How much money did you make last year of selling? Gross on, I think Whatnot was like over 30K. eBay was 30, 40K, somewhere in there. And then like social media is also quite a bit, just a living. I never really want to, I don't really have a lot of drive of being a millionaire, one. Two, I don't really have any drive to have like a huge business where I have people working for me. And if I ever did get really, really well off doing this, it's going to be because of social media, not because I'm selling $10,000 cards that are making me $10,000 profit. I may at some point dabble in that. I'm not going to say I won't change and grow, and I'm not even sure if that's a positive growth or a negative growth, but like growing that way, who knows? But I don't see it happening. I want to get more efficient with what I'm doing. I'd like to be at like 100K gross a year on eBay, maybe 100K on Whatnot, and a couple 100K a year on a year on social media would be ideal, because then I could live comfortably. I can go on vacation when I want, and be able to buy cards when I feel like it. Pretty good life. Okay, dude, what would you do for a comps on a 101 looks like as the same product 101? Similar players, like LeBron 101 versus bench player 101 is definitely obvious. Thoughts, though? That's tough. That's really tough. I don't come across a lot of one-of-ones, like really good one-of-ones, so I don't have a lot of expertise when it comes to that. I would just look at similar players. So if you had a LeBron one-of-one, see what one-of-one. I mean, he's pretty much one of the best one-of-ones you can get in any set. So go look at that set and see what one-of-ones have even sold, if at all, and see if there's anybody even in his realm. If you find some low-end player like Gary Harris and then you find a Jimmy Butler, you're going to definitely be closer to the Jimmy Butler, but you're going to be obviously above Jimmy Butler, in my opinion. So in a perfect world, you find like a Steph Curry or somebody who would be very comparable theoretically. But you also got to think it's a one-of-one, and there's a collector for everybody, almost every player. So there's going to be a baseline value for almost anything. I would imagine like a Prism True one-of-one is going to be hundreds of dollars for anybody, pretty much, especially in this year's set, at least initially. And then as time goes on, it may go down. Just please don't start with the extreme. Oh my, yeah, you'll be fine. Yeah, exactly, man. I've kind of played around with the idea of doing a podcast. I've talked to a couple people about it. And the whole idea and premise behind a podcast, if I were to ever do it, like I do in my other channel, I have the podcast, is it would be I already had the name. It's No Bangers. It's all about how you make money selling the cards that aren't bangers, I don't want to be that guy. Because first off, that content is boring. Can I just go out and say it? And it's not because the item is boring. It's because of how they do it. So many of these people are chopping up streams and just showing you with no preface. They don't set the stage. They don't show you the stakes. There's no stakes. You don't know what the person spent on the break. You don't know what the card's worth. They just show you a cool card. There's so much better ways to do that kind of content. Say I pulled a one-of-one, and I've done stuff like that. You've seen me in my videos with my shorts. I pull cards that are not the most crazy cards in the world, but I certainly know how to sell them, or at least how to show you them in an interesting way, I feel. And if I had a one-of-one LeBron, you better believe I'm pulling out all the stops. I almost passed out and rolled down the hill when I found this card in a pack, and then I doing the little noises. I would have done all the stops. Dude, you do great on a pod. Thanks, man. If you guys like podcasts, check out the Trash to Cash podcast. We get like 5,000 to 10,000 listens a week on our podcast. We've been doing it for over 2 years. It's the Commonwealth Picker, who's a very big time YouTube reseller, and then ADH Dave. And it started out as a serious reselling podcast. Now we mostly just make fun of Kevin, the Commonwealth Picker, for 2 hours every week. And it's beautiful. But I need to do a card one. I got to find like a co-host. I don't think I want to do it by myself. Didn't see it on eBay. Nobody is selling the number. I see 1 of 100, and that's like 50. Just put it up high. If it's 15, 20 bucks to 100, maybe try it at like 100, 200, 300 bucks. Put best offer on and see if you have a card. You could always go lower. So if you just want to go 300 bucks OBO, and then you have it up for a month and everybody's offering you 100 bucks, your card's probably worth about 100 bucks. Sell it at that. But if people are offering you 200, 220, and then you're waiting, then you probably know in a month that those are the offers you're getting. Your card's roughly worth that. The podcast is everywhere. YouTube, Spotify. I'll show you. Like here on YouTube. Real quick. I'll just kind of show you what it looks like. We're almost at 10,000 subs. But yeah. We're getting 4, 5, 6, 8, 10,000 views on YouTube a week, plus a couple thousand on Spotify or like the other websites or whatever. It's not super serious. I have a different persona in my card videos. I'm a little more serious with the card stuff, and in the trash to cash. I don't show it too much on the card channel, but like I love to tell jokes and tease people, and that's pretty much all I do in that podcast. I'm selling 75 to 90 cards a month in the $5 to $10 range. I find in the dollar bin's been going strong for 9 months. Should I get an eBay store? I would save a little bit of money, yeah. And then you could do sales and stuff. You might as well. I mean, I'm not. Gosh, if you haven't yet, you don't need to either, though. I mean, you could always try it out and see if it's benefiting you. The main thing with like the stores is you could put your store on sale, meaning like 10% off and stuff like that. But I don't know if you're doing auctions. I don't do auctions. So if you're doing auctions, I don't even know if you'd need it. Trash to cash is great. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it, man. I love resale, but not at a point where I can quit my full-time job. Have 2 kids who cost me too much now. Scott, I understand and don't understand. I don't have kids. I have stepkids, but part of why I can do what I do is because of that. If I had that expense, I might not be able to do this, to be honest with you. But I will say this. I feel like anybody could do this full-time. Is it worth it? Because there's something to be said for having that security, having all the healthcare, situated a little easier too. But I think it's a good dream because ultimately, I think in a perfect world, you'd have money coming in, doing what you love and spending as much time with your family as possible. It might be something where you want to even get into the broader reselling game like I am, where you actually go to thrift stores and have a little bit more stuff that you can gather and flip as well. But it's definitely a possibility. You can definitely do it. My buddy, ADH Dave, who's been my friend for years, that we do the podcast together, he just quit his job and he was making over 100K a year. And he does reselling full-time now. And content. Content's a big part of the money that he and I and other people make doing this. I only buy through auctions. Will probably never sell on auction again. Learned my lesson. On eBay, I'm typically always buying on auction, and I don't sell on auction. I'm the same way. It is all buy it now. I have run out of listings, maybe 3 out of the 9 months. Just don't want to waste the money, but I think it would come out ahead. You're doing good then. If you're selling out your stuff and you're selling it, you know what you're doing. The money, it's not going to cost you that much. I don't think it's much of a risk. I would give it a try, in my opinion. You're not going to, it probably will. If you're selling that much, it will probably save you money on insertion fees and stuff like that. You just got to do the breakdown. If you're listing 600 or whatever, I don't know what the exact details are, but if you're listing this much a month and you're paying insertion fees, which I don't even know if they're doing on non-stores anymore. It's changed since I started 13 years ago. So I haven't had to start over in 13 years. So I don't really know what the beginning process or the non-store process is anymore. I wish I could do it full time. Let me tell you this, man, you can. It's going to be hard, but I will tell you this. I would prefer eating dollar food that I prep at home or from the fast food, which isn't healthy, but let's say I would prefer being on a really tight budget, even maybe struggling a little bit, doing what I love than, I don't know, having not an abundance, but having it depends. If you have a lot and you're doing really well, then it's a different case. But if you're kind of like working at a Starbucks or you're working at like some lower end job, I don't see much of a downside, but you want to build that up. You want to start selling and do it on the side to see if you're capable and willing to do it. And then make the transition simple if it works. If nothing else, maybe you'll be able to do less hours at work, or maybe you'll be able to have a little security if something ever happened with the job, layoff or something. You'd feel a little bit more secure. That's also beneficial. Do you ever get nervous that people know your home address, or do you? I don't think about it too much. I've thought about it, though. I probably should get a P.O. box. I've sold some vintage toys as other categories, but they really only sell before Christmas. Vintage toys sell all year round, 100%. It depends on the toys, though, and the price. I just picked up a couple toys today at the thrift store. A cool DC Multiverse figure for $2, Necron. Cool, like, demon dude. But yeah, I used to sell a lot more toys because one of my hookups in Utah was like at the swap meet at the flea market, and he did a lot of toys. If you watch some of my early TikTok stuff and some of my early YouTube stuff, there was a lot more toy stuff in it on my main channel. Do you ever, I answered that one. I might be missing some people, guys. I appreciate you all being here on the live, guys. If you have any more questions, no. But ultimately, I think 2024 can be a good year for all of us to make a little bit more money, improve a little bit. We definitely don't have to go from 0 to 100 and become millionaires doing this overnight or ever. But we can definitely improve, all of us. I feel that. Yeah, P.O. boxes aren't that expensive. That's true. Like 20. I was looking too. I thought they were going to be more expensive than they were. I appreciate you guys. If you have any more questions, let me know. If not, I'm going to call it a night. I just got done with my whatnot a little bit earlier. I'm going to do another whatnot, guys, Monday for sure after the card show. I might do one Saturday too. The way I like to do it is I'll probably buy some stuff and maybe flip some of the stuff I buy on Saturday and then just re-up without having to take money out of pocket. It's easier. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one. I'll talk to you all. I'm going to have regular videos coming out here soon. Probably have a card shop video, a card show like Saturday night or Sunday, and another one next week. I just got to get back into the card show circuit. And the goal is to have like a regular video at least once a week, maybe twice a week, plus a live stream every single week. And then what are you listing now card wise? Right now I get in moods like any card reseller I feel does. I've been listing a lot of football because football playoffs are upon us. And that's what's most interesting to me. I think there's a lot of room to make some money in the next couple weeks for sure. With one hot performance, there's been times when I've done this and I've changed the price of a card mid-game and made up a price and sold it. Like there is no history. I remember, the AFC championship game a couple years ago. Who's the kicker for, I forgot the name of the kicker for the Bengals. He was a rookie a couple years, Evan McPherson. I had some of these he only had a few rookies out at this point, and I had some of his prestige rookies. I put them at like $3 a piece. I got a whole bunch of them. Some of the parallels, the Astrals, for a quarter a piece or something, 50 cents a quarter a piece. And they were selling at $3 a piece before the game, a little bit, a profit. And then he was hitting field goals. Then he hit the game winner. Every time he hit a field goal, I took it down and upped the price. I ended up selling a bunch of them at around $10 a piece. Within the game, I changed the prices from like 3 to 5 to 10. And then I think I sold one even at like 20, 25 because it was even rarer version. And it was just paying attention to the game. So there's a lot of play and fun with sports cards and football, especially right now. But for every Evan McPherson, there's the guy on the other team missing the field goals or missing the TD. And if you're investing in him, you can lose. So appreciate you guys. I will see you all next time. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful night. I appreciate you guys. And we'll talk to you next time. Have a good one. Take care, guys.